What's going on out there? Like, what do you think? Is it like the drones where it's just a bunch of different things happening at once? Is it just normal fires and the winds took the flames from here to there?
Well, there's a bunch of things going on at once, first and foremost. Let me give you my first hand experience and then kind of also bring you like what
Yes.
I've talked to from other people on the
Great.
ground as well. Because a lot of my friends have also been involved in like the community efforts to like help move rubble, help get people
Mm,
water and stuff like that. So there's been
yeah.
a lot of stuff going on. But yesterday, as I said, I'm like a couple blocks off of Hollywood Boulevard. So you cross Hollywood Boulevard, you make a right, and you get on the 101. So I'm about to get on the highway there.
Yep.
And as I'm on the on ramp, I literally see smoke pouring out of the ground. Pull over the car. I'm like, what is that? So I run back, and somebody had taken the lid off of an old electrical box, put a
Whoa.
bunch of trash in it, lit it on fire, put the lid back in upside down. It had like
Whoa.
smoke pouring out of this thing. So I take the lid
Whoa.
off. There's fire coming out of it.
Oh God.
I grab my daughter's water bottle out of the car, start to put it out. It's not going out. I find a water bottle on the side of the road, and after the fact, I'm like, this probably wasn't the best idea because what if that was vodka and not water? So I open it up and I throw it on the fire, and the fire goes out. I run across the street and I'm waving at two cops, and I just bring them over to take a look. And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Let me give you guys my ID because if anybody was videotaping that, I don't want them to like be looking for me thinking I'm the guy that set the fires.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Smart.
that's so that was one thing. And then a couple blocks away, there's a grocery store off of Bronson Ave called Gelson's,
Okay.
and somebody lit a mattress on fire in the parking lot there, a homeless person.
Wow.
So there's a lot of kind of strange things going on at the same time, and like I don't know if you've been in LA often, but like I'm from the New York area typically, and sure we've got homeless people, but the
Yeah.
homeless people are kind of a special kind of crazy out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've ran into at least two with swords in the last 2 weeks.
Interesting.
And they
They're
there's been people that
actors.
have seen homeless people lighting fires.
Whoa.
As I mentioned, there's been that smoking box, but then there's kind of another thing that's been talked about as well, and this has been through police chatter that I've heard about as well. Is have you heard about the Chilean gangs? Have
No.
you heard about this side of things?
No.
So the thought is that the fires could have been started by Chilean gangs because what's happening is people are actually going in and stealing things from the homes after people leave the homes.
Mm.
So the thought was maybe set the houses on fire, take the stuff, and then do whatever with it. So there's a lot of different theories floating around. And I don't think we're like I don't know. It's California, so like how much will we actually know
Right.
with Newsom at the wheel?
Right.
But
Yeah.
there's that, and then it's also exacerbated by they didn't refill the
That's
reservoir in Palisades. It was
Yeah.
empty and not even hooked up.
Insane.
The water pressure was low at the hydrants, which is a problem. And the other factor is the Santa Ana winds, and they have prediction on those, by the way. So they knew the Santa Ana winds were coming,
Mm.
and I think this was on what day? It was the 8th. Was that like Tuesday night?
Monday or
What day was-
Tuesday.
Wednesday night.
Okay.
So in Tuesday and Wednesday night is kind of like where it got the worst.
Yeah.
Because that night the Santa Ana winds were as high as 90 miles an hour in some areas.
Wow.
And that's in the mountains. Down where I live, it's like 30 or 40.
Right.
But like that created kind of this fire tornado situation where things are spreading really fast. And dude, I've been out here 3 months. It's rained once. So that tells you kind of like a situation you're going to
Right.
be in here.
And they can just seed clouds. Why? Why
Just
aren't
make
they,
it rain,
Why aren't
man.
they just making it rain? That's interesting to me. They do it all across the West, in particular for crops. Why aren't they seeding clouds now? It's very interesting. Is this your first time in LA, or have you been going?
I've been going back and forth for a few years because what'll end up is like I end up doing some shows out here and
Yep.
stuff like that as well. So this year we're spending more time here than we usually have. It just happens to be the time when all the shit hits the fan, I guess.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Because my first time out there was in 2022, and then I've been back a bunch of times. So I've only known it post COVID, and it's hard to get a gauge on places that you visit post COVID. I think
Yeah.
because New York changed a lot back to what it was like, in my opinion, in the 70s, where it is now. So I couldn't really tell, but I did notice, like in places like Austin as well, the homelessness was just crazy. A different type of deranged in
That's
LA.
been before even COVID though, man. Because
Yeah.
I know a couple years ago. So I used to be a competitive powerlifter in my younger days. So I actually ended up coming to Golds in Venice a lot every couple years.
Okay.
And probably in 2019 I was out here and like you try to walk down from You know where you take the sidewalk from Santa Monica and it keeps going and eventually you're in Venice?
Okay, I
Like
haven't done
that
that
is
now.
covered with
But
homeless
Alex,
people.
yeah,
Like
okay.
just covered with homeless people. And that was before the pandemic.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow.
So this has been a problem that's been getting way worse.
So you think this is a controlled collapse? Even though fires are natural to some degree, obviously out there, do you think that all of these policies, bad policies, are set in place to watch this city burn?
That's hard to say. And I was talking to Hotep about this yesterday, like, because he makes a big problem about people talking about DEI and
Yeah,
things like that with this situation. And frankly, I think he's right. It's actually just really bad environmental policy, like
yeah,
just really stupid environmental policy.
yeah.
Like they ran into a problem with the type of plane that they have that can scoop water out of the ocean and dump it on the fires because there was regulation that wasn't allowing them to do that. So yesterday they suspended the regulation so they could just scoop water out of the ocean and use it. Like that's insane.
Wow.
But then also, if you remember, was it like 1 or 2 months ago when Trump was on Rogan,
Yeah.
and he talked about there's like one species of like some sort of a water creature that they're trying to preserve. So they're
Fish.
sending
Smelt fish.
millions of gallons of water
Yeah.
into the ocean rather than down this way.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, no, I've seen Hotep's take on that, and I get it. I think this a much deeper issue. When I talk about controlled collapse, I'm thinking about like they've almost planned on these disasters happening because they do. LA's on fire all the time. It's not like,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's arson, sometimes it's just natural fires, but like they almost know, oh, if we keep eroding away at the water, at this, at that, when the next fire happens, it just takes everything out, and then they can rebuild whatever they want to rebuild. Some people are talking about the 15-minute city stuff. I don't really know. It feels that way, and I've been feeling that way. I look at COVID a lot in New York and how COVID opened up the prisons, and that was a crazy thing to me when they just said everyone can leave now. And I do believe in prison reform, but not like that to that degree where we're just sending everyone out.
Well, it feels like a Batman movie, man. Like
Exactly.
opening up Arkham Asylum and just
Exactly.
letting people run in the street. And and if you kind of, I don't know if you follow Charlie Robinson at all,
bet,
but
yeah.
Charlie's been talking about this for like the last 15 years. The controlled demolition of the American Empire.
Yep.
Because if you look at it, we're having worse natural disasters. Sure, we're having them, but we're also the response to them is terrible, right?
Yeah.
You look at the situation in North Carolina.
Exactly.
They took away the FEMA funding for a lot of these people. Last week, they took away the temporary FEMA housing, and a lot of these people don't have any place to go.
Yeah.
They also decided they were toying with the idea of giving these people a tax break, but they're like, you know what? I know you don't have any money. You lost everything. You got to pay taxes still. So at the same time, it just seems like the decision making is insane, and it is meant to kind of drive the wedge deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, is it all just incompetence? Because I agree with Charlie. This is a controlled demolition. You look at how things go down, like Maui, which you don't even talk about much anymore. East Palestine was a crazy one. All these agricultural phenomena of like thousands of cows dying at once. And maybe it is just incompetence, but I have a hard time buying into that. I think there's something deeper happening, and it's got to stop. The images. Do you remember the cows? That whole what that looked like? It was like thousands of cows dead on a farm, and they were saying maybe it was the weather. I grew up on a farm. Like it just made no sense to me. Like I
don't
seen
remember the
horses die.
cows thing. I remember the chickens thing, where like just chickens were like just dying, and then all the chicken farms were burning and everything else.
No, there was like a few instances last year of just thousands of cows. You're like,
Wow.
what is going on?